Okay, so let's get back to the big story around, developing story around Oando Nigeria PLC. Of course, the story is out there. Sources say the SEC is enforcing the new interim management being sent to Oando Nigeria PLC headquarters in downtown Lagos. According to the SEC statement, overnight, the new team under Mutiu Sumano will be the Oando's energy traders office, and they will be piloting the affairs for about 30 days. The key terms of reference for Mutiu Sumano and the rest of his team was to make sure that the SEC-ordered extraordinary general meeting of Oando takes place on or before July the 1st to appoint a new board of directors and then respect Mutiu Sumano and the rest of his team ordered in there by the SEC to vacate office for the new board, and now the SEC allow Oando to keep running as a public company. Of course, these actions by the SEC sacking the board of Oando comes in, just if you remember, this is the second company in the last 5 years that the SEC has moved in to appoint an interim management. If you remember, Ikeja Hotels PLC, also listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, was taken on board by the SEC in 2017, just as the Securities Commission was looking into the affairs of Oando Nigeria PLC. This is one of the big stories in the new month, but not just about Oando. We have a busy month on our hands, and that is part of the conversation. So let's welcome everyone to the month of June. Formally speaking on the market, let's talk to Adedayo Bakare, who is an investment analyst from AfriInvest. He's live to us from our studios at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Adedayo, good morning. The Oando story is the big elephant in the room, but not the only one. What's on your calendar for this month?
Okay, good morning. Thanks for having me, Bosen. Of course, the Oando story is a big news. You know, it's a company that the regulators have been watching for quite some time, as well as analysts in the market. So we continue to watch, developments in that space going forward. For June, quite a bit of interesting things to look forward to. We know the inauguration kicked it off last week, so we have a new government. Hopefully we can expect the cabinet announcement soon enough. So we're looking forward to the cabinet announcement. We're not sure if it's going to be this month, but it's actually quite unclear currently. So we have it on our calendar. Then we also have the CBN Governor who resumes his new term this month as well. For the next 5 years, he's going to be at the helms of the CBN. So we are also looking at that space. Also, you have a series of regulations coming into effect on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, such as rules for listing on the growth board, which is a new introduction. We currently have the premium board, the main board, and the alternate securities market exchange. So all these things are things we expect. Also, at the Nigerian at the National Bureau of Statistics, we will be expecting inflation data. You'll be expecting Q1 trade data. You're going to be expecting Q1, consumer expenditure and income patterns. So basically, those are things we're expecting for the month of June.
For all of these coming through with the MTN listing and now the Oando story, how are you market analysts looking at these issues? If you look at the equities side, sentiment beginning to come back a little bit, very gentle by the end of last week. So everyone thought, well, we're coasting home, we're getting out of the MTN Nigeria story with listing and share price and what have you, and looks like we're back to business. And then suddenly on Friday, later in the late afternoon, we got the Oando stories on our hand from the SEC.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a worrying development. As we all know, the market has been quite poor this year. So investor sentiment has been very, very weak. Until the MTN listing was post the MTN listing, we had to see we started to see a bit of momentum in buying interest, and that drove a bit of investor sentiment in the market. But if you notice, even since the MTN listing, you've had the friction with MTN and the EFCC which affected sentiments. Also, this latest bout between, the Securities and Exchange Commission and Oando too is also going to further dampen, investor sentiment. So broadly, on the balance of things, it's not so good for the market. As we know, the market is currently down, still a negative return year to date. And with all these, issues we are having in the telecommunications sector, in the oil and gas sector, it's not really a good development for the market. So for us, we think this suggests that investor sentiment will be weak for in the immediate term on the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Okay, so what do you think the sentiment will be? We started, this is the 6th month. Technically, we're wrapping up the half year. What are the big stories out there if we put the MTN Oando stories a little bit aside and try to look at some of the stories you talked about? Yes, the central bank chief, according to sources, will be holding a Board of Governors meeting this morning to formally flag off his second term in office as is the central bank. And then perhaps he will be talking about his agenda for the second term. Are you keeping one eye on this as well? Is that important for the market street?
Yes. Of course, it's absolutely important. We're watching the monetary, policy space, and we're watching the fiscal policy space. Like we said, it's like they both, policy arms have a fresh start. So like over the next 4 years for the presidency and over the next 5 years for the Apex Bank, there's a new chance to, chart maybe a different course from what we saw in the past, 4 to 5 years. For the presidency, for instance, basically on the fiscal side of things, we want to see the formation of the cabinet. We want to see the quality of the leadership of key ministries. We'll be looking out for, say, the power sector, the oil and gas sector, because the energy sectors are really, really important to driving investment and also boosting, industrialization in Nigeria. So we'll be watching those keenly. Also, in terms of human capital development, which is one of the things I would think should be the priority of this new government. We want to be looking out for those who are going to be at the helm in the education ministry as well as the health ministry. Also, ultimately, we want to look at how the federal government plans to resolve its revenue issues. So it's going to be at the helm as Minister of Finance, and what kind of ideas are we going to expect in terms of tax policy reforms and in terms of investment initiatives to actually attract investment. Now, on the monetary policy space, we've seen a bit of an interventionist CBN over the past 5 years in terms of their intervention into the real sector, and also we've seen a bit of the mandate has primarily been exchange rate stability, even over price stability. So we want to see how this is going to evolve over the next 5 years. We have, basically from what the discussions we've seen from the CBN Governor, from the MPC policy communique that was read, in the last week or so, we start to get a bit of sense of what to expect. So in terms of interventions, we continue to expect interventions. In terms of the exchange rate policy anchor of the CBN, we expect that will continue as well. But obviously, we'll be looking to the CBN itself to actually maybe guide the market on what to expect, because it's actually important for the performance of financial markets.
For the rest of the market, aside equities, what are you folks looking at for this month? If we talk about fixed income a little bit more, specifically, what's your outlook on that as we begin to see this yield curve beginning to curve a little bit in terms of the reduction in the yield curve, trying to head towards a single digit, perhaps the top end of a single digit level?
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a departure from what we've seen, in the equities market. The fixed income market has been quite busy, where we've seen a situation where investors have been, sentiment has been weak in equities. Sentiments have been, stronger in the fixed income market, and that is because we see a bit of more foreign activity in the fixed income space. Now, lately we've seen, a gradual moderation in yields. So the yield curve is gradually normalizing, and basically on the short tenor rates, less than 1 year to 1 year, we're starting to see yields, approach the single digits, and the implication of what we've seen so far is that investors are now shifting, into the mid term and the longer term tenors for FGN bonds to lock in higher rates. So this pattern of trade is what we expect will continue, in the short term. People moving, or investors, moving into the longer end of the tenor to take advantage of higher yields on those tenors. So from 5-year, 10-year to 20-year bonds, you're going to see a bit more activity in that space by investors, and the implication of it is you're going to see a gradual, reduction in yields as well, because as people move further out across the tenors, you're going to see more buying activity, and once you see more buying activity, you're going to see a fall in yields. Basically, our expectation is that investors are more focused on longer tenors than short tenors in the immediate term.
Okay, let's conclude back on the issue of Oando. This is a forensic audit. It's been about 2 years or so in the works, as it were. So the market somewhat perhaps had priced in some possible sanctions or discipline from the SEC. So how should investors trade this company moving forward? Do you expect some initial knee-jerk reaction, or everybody thought, well, we thought something could happen like this, well, it has happened, let's move on?
Although Oando, has been quite a controversial company for some time, since 2014 now, we've had all kinds of issues around the company. We expect that investors, the initial reaction would always be knee-jerk. So we expect the price of the stock to take some beating, this week. For us, in Afro-Invest Research, our valuation of Oando has been, on hold for quite some time, and that is because of all these, corporate governance issues and lack of clarity, really, on the direction of the company. So our valuation of Oando has been under review. So for us, we believe investors, it's a stock that is very, controversial, and you continue to see very wild swings in prices because as regulatory actions occur, it impacts investor sentiment, which filters into prices. So obviously, you expect a bit of knee-jerk reaction. And we expect that a lot of investors will want to move out of the stock, which we think makes sense because currently there's a bit of, the position of the company in terms of even as a going concern or a division of the company, it's quite unclear until we see a resolution of, these issues with, the institution of a new management, with the extraordinary general meeting being held, until we see a resolution. Until then, we do not see investors really getting into Oando on the stock exchange.
Okay, let's leave it there for today. Thank you so much. With you from Afro-Invest investment analyst Adedayo Bakare. Of course, this is the story. We're keeping an eye on. Everybody's keeping an eye on it as always. As we have more part of the developing story, we'll let you have it.